We are Damnation Angels.
You're watching Live Prog.
Here from Live Prog. Time to introduce you to Damnation Angels with their debut album Bringer of Light. Hey, wait a second. You already introduced us to this band, so why are you doing this again? Very observant, absolutely. You are right. Yes, I did introduce you to this band a while back because I did an interview with two members of this band, this one, Damnation Angels. I had a chat with Graney, the guitar player and main songwriter, and Frederik Asley, also known as PelleK, the vocalist. I had an opportunity to talk to them when I was attending their performance at the Pool in Uden, where they played along with Andromeda and Until Rain. Andromeda I was familiar with. I also brought you an interview with them. I also brought you a review of their latest album. I also brought you an interview and a review of Until Rain. I brought you an interview with Damnation Angels, and what was missing was a review of their new album, and that is this one. And I find it very important, if I introduce a new band to you, that I also tell you about their latest album, or at least some album, because, you know, that is the whole point, what I'm trying to do here with Live Prog. I'm not here to judge music, well, a little bit, but mainly I am here to point you to great music that definitely needs to be heard, and that you might like, and that you might want to be interested in buying, and that way supporting the band. That is my purpose, and we all need a purpose. And the purpose of Damnation Angels is make fantastic music, and that is what they do on this album. In all fairness, I have to make a few comments on their show. I have to, because especially now that I have the album, a couple of things make a little more sense to me. Because unfortunately, some parts of their show didn't come off as they should have in the live setting. And that has to do with the kind of music Damnation Angels make. On this album they bring a very symphonic, progressive power metal. You know, a mixture of that. I mean, sometimes it's really soft and it's very proggy, but sometimes it's really fast-paced, up-tempo, heavy metal that they bring. The whole album is filled with really beautiful and grand sounding orchestrations. And sometimes you have these orchestrations without the drums, the bass, the guitars and the vocals. And in a live setting, that poses a little bit of a problem. I mean, a lot of bands use visuals, and I also noticed an ongoing trend where a lot of metal bands have a belly dancer joining in. And that is, you know, the audience wants something to see. And if they need to see something, and if they can watch someone dance or they see visuals, it'll help them to keep their attention. But if you are just a band without that, and you have these orchestration parts, and as a band you're doing nothing, you know, people tend to get a bit bored. I mean, people I've noticed that people that go to a concert are easily distracted, and they start talking to each other, which is incredibly annoying. You know, so that's why it's important for a band to keep the attention. Now, we go back to the album, because that same kind of thing do you find on the album. Because of course, what they did on the live show, you also find on the album. And in a CD setting, in a studio album setting, these orchestrations really work fantastic. Because of course, when you listen to an album, you are, most of the times, you are also doing something in between. And at the same time, you're listening to the music. And I was really enjoying these orchestrations because I am a sucker for the symphonic stuff. I really like that, and it's been a while since I had a chance to review that. This is music that is a lot in the vein of, for example, a band like Camelot, but also a little bit like Stratovarius, and there are of course a lot of other bands that bring that symphonic metal to you. I really like that because it gives the music this really grand sound. And that is definitely what's working here.
I've stayed in time. Innocents don't have to die. Not in my world, not on my time. I'll do what I have to do until I die. This is my
Next to being the guitar player and the songwriter, Graney is also the man who creates all these orchestrations. Now, again, go back to that idea. This is the debut album of the band. Well, not entirely the first release. They had an EP out in 2009. I haven't heard that, so I'm not familiar with that. So I don't know how that sounds, but from what I read on the Facebook page of the band, their aims were very ambitious. They wanted to create a sound that kind of goes above. They have the feeling that bands like Camelot and Nightwish and Blind Guardian and everything don't create that huge sounds anymore, and their aim is, you know, to kind of top that, what they're doing. That is very ambitious, but they are on the right track, especially with a debut album that sounds as good as Bringer of Light does. The whole sound of this album, the production, is phenomenal. The sound is fantastic, and that's why I say, I mean, I hear a lot of debut albums, I hear a lot of beginning bands, and very often I hear that the production really is not up to standards, which is a real shame, because, you know, there's this whole debate about whether it is about the songs or about, you know, the whole way the band sounds, and I think it is a combination of both. If you have good songs but you have a terrible production, I don't like to listen to the album. But if you have a fantastic production but boring songs, I don't like to listen to the album as well. So you have to have both have to be up to standards. And with this one, Bringer of Light, both are absolutely, well, they are above standards. The songwriting is fantastic. The flow of the album is really fantastic. I really love to listen to it from the moment the album starts all the way to the album finishes. I find it a lot of fun to listen to the band. They are great musicians. I already saw that in a live setting, that they when they play, they are really enthusiastic, they are powerful, they are passionate about that. They have a fantastic rhythm section, John Graney and Stephen Avrill. John Graney on drums, Stephen Avrill on bass. And when you see them play, and it's like, wow, that is a joy to watch. I mean, that's a lot of fun of going to a concert where you can see the musicians perform and see how much fun they have in playing and how well they do that. Again, something I mentioned in the interview, but in case you haven't seen it, check it out, check it out, check it out. But just in case you haven't seen it, Stephen Avrill, I mean, he is, you know, watching him is great. Listening to him on the album is also really great. But I said in that interview, in the introduction to it, if Animal from the Muppets had a brother that played bass, he would be Stephen Avrill. Just watch him, you know, you will understand what I mean. But as a rhythm section, they provide this really strong foundation where the rest can be built upon. And I think that is very important. The guitar parts, Graney is a fantastic guitar player because he plays really nice heavy riffs, but also really great solos. Do I really need to mention the vocalist? I mean, the vocalist, wow, he really impressed me live on stage, what he did with his vocals. He's a real showman. I noticed that. He is one of the factors that really makes this album stand out above the others. And again, if you know me, you know that I say that a lot. As a band these days, with so much albums being released, you have to bring something special to be noticed. This band brings a lot of things, and one of them is PelleK, the vocalist. Because he has a unique voice, you know, he doesn't sound like anyone else, which gives this album really their own identity, and that is one of the things I enjoy listening to it.
People cry out for a savior, they're soon to learn that when the world descends into darkness, I'll bring the light. This is what I must work on. I have promised myself I'd break free of your heart.
And then open it, I'll show it to you. You have the band, and if you count correctly, you count 5 persons. But if you have seen the band when they toured through Europe, which is by the way the first time they ever toured outside of England, But when you saw them, you noticed that there were only 4 people on stage. And I would say maybe if they would have brought the 5th person, but logistically it may have posed a problem. But that might have, helped, to get the live show a little bit more interesting. Here we have them again. You can see them a little bit better. Trigg is the 5th member. Now initially I thought she would be a singer, because that is quickly the idea which you get. You get 4 guys and 1 girl, and you really think, this is another female fronted metal band. But that's not the case with this one. I mean, I was listening to the album and I knew that she was a part of it, and I was wondering where do I hear any female vocals? And then I looked up here. Oh, wait a second. She's not singing, she's playing piano. And if you listen to the album, you hear really beautiful piano parts in a lot of songs. So she adds, again, a little bit of sparkle, a little bit of atmosphere, and especially in that whole classical symphonic idea to the music, which is very nice. The whole flow of the album is really great. And I was looking at the tracks and I was listening to them. There are a couple of long tracks on it, around 10 minutes. Especially the first real track. I mean, the first track is called, well, you read it yourself, because unfortunately I can't completely read it. It's a little bit dark font. It seems a bit Latin, but the second track, The Longest Day of My Life, is about 10 minutes, and wow, that is a fantastic track. But along the way, and then as you can see right here, that's the advantage of doing a video review. I can show you things, as you can see here. Tracks 5 through 8 kind of form a suite, and I was listening to them, and a very symphonic suite, and very nice. It's not that the songs really flow over into each other. There are short pauses in between the songs, but very nice. And then there was a track track number 9, that kind of surprised me. They included a cover on this album, No Leaf Clover, by Metallica, which was originally on the S&M album. And I listened to the original version, and to be honest, save for the vocals by PelleK, of course. I mean, PelleK sings completely different than James Hetfield, but apart from that, and apart from the fact that the orchestrations here are probably electronic and not a full classical orchestra, I don't think they have the budget for that. I mean, that's the only difference. But apart from that, I didn't really hear much difference between these versions. And given the fact that these guys have so much original material that sounds so fantastic, I wondered why they included a cover in it. I don't know, probably because they like the song. It is possible. It's an interesting addition. I mean, it fits in the whole symphonic line of the album, but I wondered about it. The last track of the album, Pride, the Warrior's Way. If you go to damnationangels.com, you will find a YouTube clip of that song. And they saved the proverbial best for last, because that track is really fantastic. This is really the highlight of the album. And when I was listening to that track, I had the feeling I was listening to the soundtrack of a really epic, grand movie. But again, without the actual movie. It has a lot of soundtrack cinema-like feel to it. But it is a very fantastic, really beautiful, amazing song. Check it out on their website. You can watch it and listen to it, and then you will hear how well these guys are. And if you are into that whole symphonic metal kind of sound, and you like bands like Camelot, like Stratovarius, but also bands like Nightwish, Blind Guardian, and there are a lot of other bands that bring that sound, I definitely recommend this album to you, Damnation Angels, Bringer of Light, because it is a well-composed, well-produced and well-performed album with a lot of fantastic songs on it and a lot of great musicians performing it. So I absolutely say check it out. Damnation Angels, Bringer of Light. The end! That was my take on Damnation Angels, Bringer of Light. Have you seen this band while they were touring through Europe? Have you picked up the album? Have you heard the album? What do you think of it? Do you like it or do you not like it? Leave some comments on this YouTube channel and let me know. And while you're at it, click on the subscribe button so you will stay up to date on all the new videos I will upload on this channel. Of course, you can also visit my website, liveprog.com. You can follow me on Facebook and Twitter, and I definitely hope you will see me at a new review.
1,000 years could pass us but it'll never change our warriors' pride. Our souls live on in another life. We'll stand together at each other's sides. We will fight together and together.